Hello, Kimberly and Sarah here. We thought we'd tell you about our trip to Honduras. So in March of this year, we were blessed to get to be a part of the Medical Brigade that Evangelistic Faith Missions puts on every year in Honduras. And so we were blessed to get to be a part of that team. We went with 3 beautiful ladies from our church, Sister Becker, Miss Deanna, and Kiana. We want to thank you for all that you did to make this trip happen. We flew out early Saturday morning and we landed in San Pedro Sula around early afternoon. We ate lunch in the airport, and then after they loaded up the 60 plus suitcases, which included a good amount of medical supplies and medicine, we headed up the mountain to San Luis. We arrived at the mission compound that evening. The next day was Sunday, and we had a little a service on the missions compound, and after which we had lunch, and then we were given a tour of the missions compound. We got to look around in EFM's clinic there on the compound, and we got a tour of the new surgical center being built right behind it. Sunday night, we piled into several different vehicles, and we drove to different local churches to worship with them. And that night after church, we went and visited a new little baby born in the clinic. Monday through Thursday, we would go to a little town or a little village, and we would set up the little traveling clinic in a school or a church. The towns we went to were Barandiales, Lemoncillo, Agua Buena, and Carizal, and we set up our little clinic back at the mission compound too, and treated the employees back at the mission. When people hear there's going to be a clinic in their area, they come from far and wide, and when they come, they get to hear the gospel. We have a Honduran pastor that goes around with us and will preach the gospel. And then we also have some Honduran ladies that work with us to teach a children's church. They have a little children's service. So after that, the people see the triage nurses who write down their names and whatever ailments they have on a piece of paper. And then they wait their turn. And once it's their turn, they come into the little building we're in, whether it's a school or a church, and get seen at one of the medical personnel's tables. Part of the week, Sarah, got to work with Sister Becker, which is a nurse from our church. I enjoyed getting to work with her, and she was sweet, has a sweet spirit, and loves Jesus. And kind of how they do these medical brigades is the patient will come in and be seated at one of the little tables, which each table would have typically a nurse and then their translator, or a doctor and their translator. And the patient will bring a little paper that has been filled out by the triage nurses, telling of their ailments and, their age, their weight, different things that the nurses would need to know. And it is written in Spanish, though. The paper is written in Spanish, though, because the triage nurses are Honduran. So the translators will read the paper and translate to the nurse and tell them what the paper says, and then the nurse will evaluate and think about, what it could possibly be and the medicines that they have that could help them. And also, something that the nurses do is, as they feel led, they will talk to them about their souls or even mention little things about Jesus here and there. And so that was neat. And the other part of the week, I got to work with Kimberly and Mr. Tony. And toward the end of the week, the nurses got good at reading the paper, even though it was in Spanish. And every day I, Kimberly, got to work with Mr. Tony. He was our eye specialist. So we would have the patients, usually the patients would go by one of the nurses or doctor's tables first, and then they'd come to us, and they'd get a little eye exam right there. And so then Mr. Tony would evaluate how their vision is and give them glasses. And people were just so happy to be able to, read again. We had a Bible there, so we had it right there so that whenever they put on the reading glasses, they would test it out and use the Bible to test it out, and look down, see how they could see the font. And so people were really happy whenever they were able to see better, due to the glasses that Mr. Tony was able to bless people with. So that was a wonderful time. One time a lady came in and she said, my husband isn't here, but he needs reading glasses. He's a pastor. And so Mr. Tony, sent her home with some reading glasses for him. And hopefully those reading glasses are just a big blessing to him as he prepares his messages and reads his Bible and stuff. So it was just a really good time of translating for Mr. Tony. We also gave out a lot of sunglasses. The sun is more direct there in Honduras and Central America. And there's a lot of, dusty roads and stuff. So Mr. Tony wanted me to encourage people to wear their sunglasses. There's a lot of, cataract issues and stuff like that. So he wanted them to protect their eyes and, kind of like preventative measures. So we gave out a lot of sunglasses and people thought they were pretty cool. One of my favorite parts of the trip, and I know I'm not alone on this, I know other people thought this was one of their favorite parts of the trip as well, was the food. The food was so good, and a big thank you to the ladies who prepared us food back at the mission compound. It was so good. Also, the food the lunches we had on the clinic days were so good. It was just a very light wrap, and so somebody would hand out little menus and we'd put a check beside whatever we wanted, if we wanted tomato, lettuce, ham, whatever, and then they would stick it together. A big thank you to the ladies who got our lunches ready, and they'd stick it together for us, and then we'd have a nice light lunch in between seeing patients. So that was really neat too, very refreshing. This is our friend, Mr. Marvin, or Marvin in English. He is a Red Cross. He's with the Red Cross, the Honduran Red Cross there, and he goes around with us, and we'll drive into town, into the different villages where we go, and it helps the people to trust us a little more, instead of this weird group of gringos coming into their town. They see, oh, here's the Red Cross, the Red Cross is with them. Okay, cool. And Mr. Marvin, he can do about anything. He's a clown for birthday parties. He's a Christian, and he works with the Red Cross, and he's really good with people and helping things run smoothly. So he's just a really great guy to work with. A part of the medical brigade that the people in Honduras really appreciated was the vitamin table. So after each patient was seen, before they would walk out the door, they'd get handed, a little packet of vitamins, or and there was, different vitamins, adult vitamins and little kid vitamins, and I believe there was even some baby vitamins. And so they were so happy to get their vitamins, and also the people who worked at the vitamin table also would blow up balloons for the little kids and made them happy. And so they did a good job. So this is our pharmacy. Thank you to each and every one of you who gave money toward buying medicine, or who donated medicine, or who gave money to help pay for the suitcase of medicine. Medicine is really, really expensive, but also is a big part of our medical brigade. So as you see here, the pharmacy was just kind of a little spot it was different depending on our building. A lot of times it was kind of behind the nurses and the doctors' tables, at least in the past. But sometimes if rooms are small, they'll be in a different room separate from all the doctors and nurses. And so when we get to Honduras, at some point before we start our little clinicals in the different areas, we organize the medicine, so stick, let's say all the cough syrup together, all the ibuprofen and aspirin and stuff together, and so stuff like that. That way it's organized, and then the doctors and nurses, when they see people and the people need pain medicine or whatever else, a lot of times they'll have stuff on their table, and then sometimes they'll need to get more back from the pharmacy. So and the people at the pharmacy did a really good job too, as well as the runners who ran medicine from the pharmacy to the doctors and nurses. One person that really stood out to our team was this little girl named Blanca. She really, really needs prayer. We would appreciate it if you would help us pray for her. This lady you see here, she prayed to accept Jesus into her heart. And so it was really wonderful. We were able to just introduce her almost immediately to the man who is acting as the pastor there in that church for right now. So that was a really wonderful thing that happened. It was neat to see the different people at the village and how grateful they would be to receive medical help. And so the gratefulness on their faces and even in their words, and a lot of times there would be somebody who would kind of be acting as the spokesperson for that village, and they'd want to get up and give a speech and just thank us and pray that God would bless us and stuff like that. So it was neat to see. Thank the Lord we were able to attend to the needs of 900 people. And 104 got saved. Thank you to everyone who gave, who prayed, who donated, who bought macarons and lasagnas. Thank you.